Welcome. I hope you are safe and well. I'd love to hear from you. If you're watching on Facebook or some other source, let us know that you're doing so. As we gather this morning in this virtual community, I invite you to take a moment. Maybe if you're comfortable, close your eyes. Picture our beautiful sanctuary. Then picture the pew you usually sit in. Now let those who sit around you come to mind. Thinking of them, whisper a quiet thank you as you send them your love. Thank you, AJ. Please join me in a word of prayer. God, my life, our lives have suddenly changed. We feel numb and unbelieving, stunned and alarmed. It does not seem possible that our life could be so quickly turned upside down. Comfort us, O God. Wait with us while we try to grasp the truth. Slowly reveal to us what we need to accept. As the layers of the days ahead unfold, keep us safe in the shelter of your love. Embrace us, hold us, lead us, even as we repeat words that have comforted people for generations when we pray, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Hey, Cindie and AJ and Carolyn. Our scripture reading this morning is the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It was a classic Michael moment, classic. The kind that makes many of you laugh, some of you cringe, and leaves me wanting to run and hide. I was at a funeral home a few weeks ago doing a memorial service. The room was filled with people I didn't know. In situations like that, I hope for three things. I want to bring comfort to those grieving. I want to celebrate the life of their loved one. And maybe most of all, I want to make a good impression. Now, things were going well. I was at that point in the service where I always say, in moments like these, people of faith have turned to the scriptures. And a great source of comfort, hope, and promise come from the familiar words of the 23rd Psalm. Familiar words that have offered solace to grieving people for thousands of years. And then looking empathetically at the new widow, I begin remembering, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. We've all said those words hundreds, maybe thousands of times. Like most of you, they're written on our heart. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. When our hearts break, when our world comes undone, we long for something familiar, something to comfort us, something we can hold on to. Just like a child reaches for a teddy bear or a well-worn blanket. So too do we reach for those things that remind us this too shall pass. Even though we walk through the valley, life's darkest valleys, we know that one walks with us. During times like we are living through right now, or 24 hours a day, we hear about the virus and how bad things are and how they're only going to get worse before they get better. We look for something to reassure us, to assure us that all will be well. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but joy will return. Those beloved words from the 23rd Psalm have sustained people for generations. I've recited that psalm with people with dementia, who during a 15-minute visit will ask my name 10 times. But when I begin, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, often their lips begin to move as they quietly whisper alongside me, He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Cherished words of balm to the weary soul. And all of us need things like that that anchor us, especially as life in our world is unraveling. So at that recent memorial service, as I began reciting Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Now at that point, not that I needed to, I know the next line. He leadeth me beside the still waters. But for reasons that escape me, I glanced down to my notes, out of habit, I suppose. And that was a huge mistake. You see, when I looked at my notes, a sense of panic filled me. My heart started racing. Had I not looked down, I would have simply continued. But when I did look down, what I saw was not the familiar words of the King James Version, but some modern version that I had inadvertently copied when I was goofing off in my office earlier that day and forgot to change. And so what I saw was this: God, my shepherd, I don't need a thing. You have bedded me down in lush meadows. You find me quiet pools to drink from. True to your word, you let me catch my breath and send me in the right direction. When I saw those words, especially bedded me down, I lost it. Panic took over. My brain shut down. I was muddled and befuddled, bedded me down. Suddenly I had no idea where I was in the psalm. Command Central was shouting, "What's next? What's next? Where are we?" I was totally confused. And anyway, what kind of minister gets lost in the middle of the most treasured psalm ever written? What kind? A moronic work. I'm sure my face was bright red, a Michael moment indeed. I don't remember what words I mumbled as I scrambled to regain my composure. But then I stopped. Flash of brilliance. I stepped out from behind the lectern and I said, why don't you join me in this most treasured, cherished song? And together we recited the song. And things went better from that point on. Now there's nothing wrong with the version I was reading. It's just that it's not the familiar one we know and love. It doesn't touch us in those deep and tender parts that need touching. It doesn't ring true. And when I had introduced the psalm at the funeral, I made a point to saying the familiar words. And there's nothing familiar with God, my shepherd, I don't need a thing. Funerals are times to shake things up. This wasn't the song they knew or loved. It's not the song they heard at their grandfather's funeral or when they buried their mother or father. Now, in the grand scheme of things, when compared to all my other verbal faux pas, this probably doesn't crack the top 10. But it did remind me that there's nothing like a familiar reading or a well-known passage or an old hymn to help orientate us. They're like old friends. We're comforted by those passages that we know by heart. I love it, and I'll bet all of you do too, when one of our children, or a gaggle of them, who can't even read, but I love hearing them blast out with enthusiasm on a Sunday morning, Our Father who art in heaven. Even though I don't for a second picture God as a Father in heaven. I love knowing our children have that prayer in their hearts. Words our people have said for over 2,000 years. Those things anchor us. And in a world so rapidly changing and unraveling, where the constant refrain on TV and radio reminds us, rightfully, to be careful, we need things to hold on to that will help settle us and bring us peace. As this week unfolded, as things appeared to be more and more out of control, I turned off the news, turned down the radio, and I made a point of sticking to my routine as much as possible. I ran, I worked out, I went to work, walked with Cindie. I've seen lots of you out there doing the same thing, walking. Getting outside brings a sense of peace and wholeness. And then I've been reading a lot, listening to great music. And I've looked for funny things, because humor heals. All of those things remind me that the world is still a good and safe place, that life is precarious but precious. I'm reminded, too, to focus on what I can control, to be grateful for what I have, to do what I can, let go of what I can't. For some moments like the ones we're facing right now, those moments make them smaller, more fearful. But others become larger, more gracious and more grateful. I had this morning the best cup of coffee I've ever had. Funny thing is, it's the same coffee I've been drinking for years, brewed exactly the same way, same cup too. But this morning I didn't chug it like I usually do, like it was a race. I drank it slowly, mindfully. The steam fogged up my glasses, and I smiled, taking it all in. I savored it, and the opportunity to enjoy one of life's simple but delicious pleasures. I hope you too can savor this very moment, that you love what you have, that you're doing what you can, and being who you are. Amen.
With the shepherd's care and fold.
Thanks for watching. I hope you're in a safe place that will hold you while we can't hold one another. And may we even this day, this very moment, experience the peace that passes understanding. And if you'd like to support the important work of this church, you can do so by making your offering by clicking on the link below.